Hey guys, it's Jo from Time for Tea Designs with a brand new card making video. This video features a brand new digi-stamp set at Time for Tea Designs called Furreakingly Good Halloween. The set itself contains the cat dressed as a witch with a number of accessories. You have the broom, the bat, the pumpkin and star, as well as two punny sentiments. As you can see here now, I'm just colouring up my kitty image, and I didn't really have a plan when I was colouring this image in, other than I didn't want it to be the typical black cat. I knew the background for my card was going to be dark, so I wanted to keep the cat bright, and the ginger tabby just was the perfect fit. I picked a number of Copic markers in the Y family to create this cat. I started with the E50 as the background and saturated my paper with the E50 just to create a little bit of background colour, and then I started to work in the different Y colours. So the Y35 and Y38 created a little bit of a ginger colouring. And then I used the Y28, as you can see there, just to create a few tiger type lines to then create a little bit of the more tabby effect. I also used the Y28 just to create a little bit of shading around the cat's mouth and nose there to create a little bit of shape. So these are all the colours that I used. I did use the Copic blush colour for the ears, just to create some little pink ears. And then moving on now to the outfit for the kitty, so the witch's outfit. For this I just used the familiar combination of greys, cool greys for this, C3, C5 and C7. And I again saturated my paper with the lightest shade, starting with the lightest shade first, and then working into the shaded areas with the C5 and then C7, and then blending them all away again with the C3. Moving on to my broom, I used a number of the E combinations to create the broom stick, and went back to my E50 and the Y colours, the Y35, Y38 and Y28, just to create the straw strands of the broomstick. So it's a bit of a familiar colour combination, kept things really simple for myself and meant that each of the images really worked very well together. So again, the same combination of yellows to create my pumpkin, and then the E13 and E57 to create the stalk of the pumpkin there. What I did realise is that I'd been a little bit heavy-handed and some of the colours had bled outside of the lines, so I'm just using my blender marker there just to push that colour back in so that you won't be able to see that. Moving on to my bat, I used again the same combination of cool greys, so C3, C5 and C7, and just again starting with the lighter shade of C3 and blending the darker shades around the outside of the bat's face and the wings there. I didn't go right into the centre of the bat's face because I still wanted you to be able to see his little smiling mouth and those little fangs. And again, some of the ink, because it's a very small image, did bleed slightly, so I'm just blending that out with my blender pen. The final touch then was to create a few little spots where the whiskers for the cat would be, just using my blender pen, and then some highlights using my jelly roll pen. So that's just a few finishing touches there to create a little bit of dimension and a bit of white around the edges of my pumpkin there to cover up any bits that I couldn't effect with the blender pen. Sorry about that going just out of shot there. and I just used another jelly roll pen with the sparkles to create my star. So this part of the video is probably going to be a little bit boring because it's me fussy cutting all the images. This is where you really start to appreciate being able to die cut your images, because when it comes to small intricate images, fussy cutting can be quite a time-consuming task. However, the images themselves are not too bad. I don't mind fussy cutting, actually. It's just sometimes you don't quite get the finish that you would like. So do take your time. I have obviously got this on high speed to save you having to watch every last little cut, as that would be very boring. So in real life, take your time, make sure that you're getting the finish that you want. You don't want to spend all that time colouring and then, cut off a wing of your bat because you've been impatient. So do just take your time to get a really nice finish. So just finishing up the last one of those and putting those to one side while we create our background. So here I am just figuring out my layout because, as I say, I didn't really have much of a plan. This has been very much sort of, let's see what we've got and what we can work with. So what I did have, I did find in my stash, was a die cut circle that I'd obviously used for something else, and just kept just in case. So I thought, this could work as a little bit of a backdrop for a moon. So I'm using my distress inks, some weathered wood and dusty concord, to create my background. And I've taken my circle, placed that halfway up my card blank, and then taken a rectangular blank piece of card to cut that in half, so that I'm only going to be putting ink on my card above that line. And when we take those masks away, you'll see that it creates a nice little half moon shape and a bit of a platform for my images to sit on, which you can see from the reveal there. Now, as I was doing the inking, I realised that I hadn't quite got a dark enough background with just the weathered wood and the dusty concord, so I went in with some Memento black. Now, this part of the card making process was a complete experiment. Never done this before, and I wanted to use some acrylic ink or acrylic paint just to create some stars onto my background. I did this just on a wipeable craft mat, which was a huge mistake because it went absolutely everywhere, and some of the dots were slightly larger than I expected, which meant they took quite a long time to dry, and the acrylic ink itself also did pool a little bit. So just a little tip there, make sure you're doing it in a box because it will cover absolutely everything, and try not to use quite as much ink on your brush to start with. So I've just shown you there that I'd used some of my extra images on the inside of my card and the extra sentiment. Something that I often forget to do is embellish the inside of the card, but I feel that that's quite a nice touch, and I've seen a lot of other crafters do that, and I really like the way that looks. So moving on to just finishing my focal panel, I'm now using foam pads on the back of each of my images to stick those all down to create a little bit of dimension, and I've laid the broom on there so that it's parallel with my night sky, and then the cat on top of the broom, as if she's flying through the sky. What I wished I'd done afterwards was that I'd cut the tail off and slotted that behind my broom, but I didn't think of that at the time. It was only when I came to photograph the card at the end that I thought that might have been quite a nice touch. So I've just popped my bat on the back, flying alongside, and now the sentiment I'm just mounting onto a piece of dark grey cardstock, Pardon my fringe getting in the way there. And I've made that the same width as my focal panel, and again I'm using some foam pads which are just out of shot now, just to raise that, and then I can add that to the bottom portion of the panel there. So I'm just lining that up, and pretty happy with that. And then just using some foam pads again, because I'd like a little bit of dimension again, raising the focal panel away from the card base itself. So just popping plenty of these on there so that I don't get any bowing of the card once that's put onto the card base. It's a bit tricky getting these off with my nails, but I do manage to get them all off. And again, this is why I've just speeded this up ever so slightly, just so that you don't have to spend too long watching me taking the backs off my foam pads. And there, just adhere that to my card base, and my card is complete. I really hope that you like this video and the new digital collection. If you'd like to get hold of yours, there'll be a link to where you can get it in the comments below, and we'll hope to see you in another video really soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.